Hey guys, and welcome back to Altcoin by Spotlight with me, Layah, the show where we speak to entrepreneurs, innovators, and thought leaders in the cryptocurrency and the blockchain space. Joining me today is Jazear Brooks, the founder and COO of Sifchain, the world's very first omni-chain decentralized exchange. But before we bring on our guests, don't forget to hit the like button and hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And also let us know in the comment section below who you want us to interview next and which topics you want us to cover. Jazear, welcome to Altcoin by Spotlight. How are you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So I want to jump straight into this. Can you tell us about Sifchain? What does it do? Give us the full lowdown.
Sure, yeah. Sifchain is an omni-chain decentralized exchange. When we say omni-chain, we mean we want to connect with a bunch of different layer 1 blockchains. So we want to build bi-directional two-way pegs so that you can move tokens from any chain that we bridge to, whether that's Ethereum or BetaNet Smart Chain, or something like a Stellar. You can move those tokens onto Sifchain, and then you can actually trade them on our DEX, and then if you want, move them from Sifchain back onto whatever chain we peg them from.
But how do you plan to cross-integrate 20 to 25 different blockchains?
Actually, when we started, that was the goal. But since then, EVM has been extremely popular for a lot of chains. So BetaNet Smart Chain, like I said, uses it. Avax uses it. Heka is using it, and a few others are using it as well. And so a lot of our engineers are just focused on bridging just to EVM chains, and that's going to be substantially more than 20 to 25. So that's kind of already done. As far as doing the ones that are not EVM based, I do agree with you. It'll be tough. I think that we're ultimately going to need to be very good at bridge building software. We're going to need to have a really solid grants program and community building, and then collectively, I think we'll be able to reach both the actual goal in terms of number and then also the spirit of the goal, which includes EVM and non-EVM chains.
And then how do you plan to actually unlock the liquidity?
So the pegging software kind of works like this. You're taking the native tokens and then you're sending them to an address on their native chain that is controlled by a set of peg validators that also have some kind of a validator on Sifchain or on a Sifchain peg zone. And whenever the tokens are actually sent to this address, they're locked at that address. And then a corresponding number of tokens are minted that are synthetic, either again on Sifchain or on a Sifchain peg zone. And the validators themselves that are running this peg zone or the peg are actually engaged in Tendermint consensus, which means Tendermint consensus being the consensus algorithm that's used for Sifchain and pretty much every single other Cosmos SDK chain. And so because that's the case, we know that there's cryptoeconomic security for the peg. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's essentially how it works. And then if you want, you can take the peg tokens that you created and then send them to an address on Sifchain that will indicate that you want to burn them on Sifchain and then unpeg them back to their native chain.
And right now, decentralized exchanges are obviously very much blowing up, particularly on the Ethereum network. So how is it on Sifchain actually more efficient than on Ethereum?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to things like gas costs, right? Ethereum is extremely expensive. Cosmos SDK is 100 times or so cheaper. Then there's a question of throughput. You can only get maybe 20 to 65 transactions per second through on Ethereum, and Cosmos SDK solves that. Substantially, it's again 100 times more efficient in terms of number of transactions per second. I know that things various layer 2s are coming through to Ethereum, and things like optimistic rollups are great, but even with optimistic rollups, the base layer Cosmos SDK is still more efficient, and that doesn't even include the fact that you can also do optimistic rollups on Ethereum, on Cosmos SDK. So yeah, all in all, we would definitely say that there's a huge performance increase. Then beyond that, there's the fact that we will connect to a bunch of other chains, so you can actually take whatever assets you want from all the chains we bridge to, and then move them onto Sifchain. In between the base layer efficiency and then the connectivity efficient benefit, we just feel like we're substantially more performant.
Yeah, I think it's insane to see how many people are moving away from Ethereum, given, all those issues and challenges that you mentioned. So I'm really interested just to see how this plays out and, whether things like this or, Binance Smart Chain make Ethereum potentially redundant. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. But you guys have a governance token. So tell me about this, especially in relation to staking and all the pooling benefits.
Yeah, so the Rowan token has a few benefits. The one big one is governance. You can use it to vote on initiatives for the SIF DAO and then decide sort of how the protocol gets developed. You can vote on like how to spend ecosystem tokens for various initiatives. So that's really cool. Another thing you can use it for is staking token, as you also mentioned. So you can stake it with validator that you run yourself, or you can delegate it to another validator. And that's used for the cryptoeconomic security of the chain. And then the final way you can use it is as a settlement token. So every liquidity pool that we have has a Rowan base pair. So for ETH and Rowan, or YFI and Rowan, and whenever you want to do a swap, you're either swapping from ETH to say Rowan, or if you're doing a double swap like ETH to YFI, it's ETH to Rowan and then Rowan to YFI. And so that means that there's always a substantial amount of value that comes from holding the Rowan token. There's actually a 2-to-1 ratio, or 3-to-1, I should say, ratio between the amount of external capital on the chain and the amount of the minimum amount of value of Rowan on Sifchain. So, for example, if you take $10 million worth of external assets, then we know from the settlement capacity that there must also be $10 million worth of Rowan on the other side of the liquidity pools, because these are evenly weighted pools, and if they weren't evenly weighted for a temporary moment in arbitrage, it would just make them evenly weighted. And then that would mean that the protocol itself is securing 20 million in assets, and we would then have to have at least 20 million being staked by validators in order to actually secure the network. So that's where you get the 10 to 10 being 20 collectively on the chain, and then another 20 being actually staked by validators. So a total of like 10 to 30, which is 3-to-1 for the value of external assets, or Rowan to the value of external assets. And then beyond that, there's the governance usage, which adds additional speculative multiplier beyond the TVL. So that's why you can kind of use the amount of external capital as something that gives you a bit of a floor on Rowan, although you can see that right now it's trading substantially higher than TVL, because a lot of people are interested to see what the governance will be used for in the future.
And I also wanted to move on a little bit and also talk about, so Safechain's BetaNet, how is that performing?
It's pretty well. We have, something like 1,000-ish unique users a week. We have a bunch of really great tokens. I highly recommend checking it out just to see, what awesome tokens we've chosen to list. And we've got something like 25-ish million in TVL. I haven't checked the latest numbers. I know that a bit more was added last night. I saw some cool onloading there, so that was really cool. You can move your tokens from the Ethereum network over to Sifchain really smoothly and back. We just updated to have a rewards functionality for liquidity mining, so you can actually see the liquidity mining rewards in the UI, and we'll get validator subsidies up soon. I think there are certainly still areas of improvement for engineering, because this is a beta. It's not mainnet yet. But I think that we're seeing a lot of traction, a lot of engagement for something so new, and I'm excited to see that continued growth.
So just finally then, when can we expect the mainnet?
Yeah, I think it's a few months away at the least. We want to really polish BetaNet, and we want to make sure that we build features that will stimulate deep demand for Rowan. So I think more bridges are going to be necessary. We'll probably do the omni-EVM bridge at the least, if we don't do other layer 1 bridges. And then I think we want to do things that really use the liquidity in the liquidity pools, maybe like a margin trading or some other features that really get a lot of value from that. We would probably want to do those things before mainnet. We haven't really set a hard deadline for ourselves, but it's definitely at least a couple months away.
Jazear, I want to wish you the best of luck for the launch of the mainnet. We'll definitely be following at Altcoin Bars, and I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.